Floor is yours, group.
Hi, I'm Ella.
I'm Kirtana. I'm Lauren.
Where's Nate?
Sorry I'm late. I just couldn't not get out of bed.
And we're
Nathan.
soulful. And we're soulful. Remember a time when it was cold and dark outside and you hear that annoying sound go off at 6 o'clock in the morning? Well, that was your stupid alarm clock. According to a survey we sent out, one of the questions was how many people struggle with getting up in the morning. And about 88% of our participants said that they struggle with getting up in the morning. But particularly, they struggle with getting up when it's cold and dark outside. And so that is the problem that we're looking to tackle today.
Okay, so how we got this information and solved our problem is that we sent out we did 20 in-person interviews where the purpose of this was to find out who our market was and find our early adopters. And then after that, we made a Google Form survey and we sent them out to many more people. We got 173 Google Form responses, which confirmed our early adopters and our problem.
Based off another question on the survey that we sent out, helped us figure out who our primary target was. And we found out that teenagers, high school students, college students, and early risers are the people that are primarily affected by our problem, which is struggling to get up in the morning. And so that's why we are very excited to present a possible solution to this problem.
And the solution is the Solful Smart Alarm Clock, which has gradual heat, gradual light, and it's here to simulate like a perfect morning. So, the science behind waking up. So, exposure to light plays a big part in helping us get up. So the body naturally proves to react with the sun as there are melatonin levels which help us stay up in the day and help us fall asleep at night. When there is sunlight, then our body regulates the melatonin levels, so which is why we can wake up in the morning. Well, at nighttime, our body produces more melatonin, which helps us fall asleep. So the light simulates the basal forebrain, which is AKA the wakefulness center of the brain. Also, another big factor that helps us wake up in the morning is the temperature. And how the temperature helps us is that when it's too warm, then it is more likely for ourselves to wake up in the morning, because at nighttime when we sleep, our body kind of naturally goes down a few degrees, cools down a few degrees to help us fall asleep. So in the morning if it's too hot, or maybe not even too hot, but too warm, it may be too warm so that we won't wake up. And we got these information from the Jacksonville Sleep Center and Dr. Seema Khosla, who is the chair for the ASM Technology Committee, which is the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. So here's our market size, the TAM and SAM. The TAM, we started with a global population because it is a global problem. Everyone needs to wake up in the morning. But hold up, 8 billion, that is a huge amount of people. So we narrowed it down. We narrowed it down to people who had internet access, which is around 60%, and we did this because our product right now is going to be through online shops, so you need the internet to be able to shop online for our product. And then cold areas, we narrowed that down to, which is 50% of the world, because in cold areas, that's where the problem is more prevalent, like in the winter and in the winter times where there's 4 seasons. That is 50. And then we narrowed it down to 80%, which was from our survey. 80% was the amount of people who said that their mornings were not great, like the experience of waking up was not very great. So that's our TAM. It ended up to be almost 2 billion. That is still a very, very humongous number. So then we had our SAM, which we narrowed down to our US residents. And our US residents is 4% of the world, so we took 4% of our 2 billion. And then we narrowed down to 7 to 10 rating, which is our survey. And the 7 to 10 is how much the people wanted to change their mornings, on a scale of 1 to 10. And that turned out to be almost half of the people who took our survey. And then we narrowed it down more to ages 15 to 24, because that was our early adopters that we learned from our problem interviews. And then Illinois residents, because that is probably who we would reach out to first and would be easiest to get our products. So we also asked on the survey, would you buy our idea if it came out as a product? The blue here is 67.2%, and those were all the yeses. And all that rainbow there, that rainbow is all a whole bunch of different varieties of like maybe, depends on price, depends on the reviews, and yeah.
Alright, so we've chosen 4 competitors that we compared ourselves to. As you can see here, our competitors also provide gradual light increase and sounds before the alarm, which we do plan on doing. But we added a benefit of heat, which allows, as we said before, to wake up easier. Some common criticism that these products have received are that it doesn't work after a while, like it malfunctions. It's too reliant on an app. So we aim to minimize on these criticisms, and as well as our price, we decided to go with a price that's in between of those. So it's not the lowest of the low or the highest of the highs, it's right in the middle, so that we're undercutting like a lot of the competitors that are priced much higher than us.
So as Nate said, our price is $69.99 per unit, and we came up with this using a value-based pricing strategy, and we sent out a question in our survey asking how much people would be willing to pay for this product, averaged all those costs, and came up with $69.98.
Okay, now for our unique value proposition. So our UVP is for teenagers and adults who struggle to get up when it's cold and dark outside in the morning. So Solful utilizes science and technology to bring the sun into your bedroom by gradually increasing the brightness and temperature of the room, but especially emphasizing on the added feature of heat, which helps everyone wake up more naturally in the morning.
And also with our product, we want to include the community. And what I mean by this is kind of bring the value to people, as like we're only 4 people and we don't know everything, we don't know how to operate everything, but we're in a school and there's so many like amazing people that have talents that know how to do much more. Nate, he's our tech guy, but like he doesn't know everything about like programming, so we want to include the comp sci, like the comp sci classes, the comp sci students to help us with the programming, and like the applied tech to help us with the building if we run into any problems, and so we can get the whole community involved with this. And also in the future, we plan to also give back to the incubator program if this product gets out to the real world and we can make some, and we can earn some money.
So, our minimum viable product. As you can see here, we have a 3D rendition of our product. We set it so that there's a nice LCD screen for the user to interact with, and then as well as a 60-degree inclination so that the user can see the product properly instead of like having it like at 90 degrees where it has to be basically at eye level. Along the back side, we have 3 fans to make sure that air is circulated through the product itself so that it reduces the chances of fire. The product itself is about 7 inches by 7 inches by 11 inches. The exact measurements are in centimeters, so that's approximately. And then I would give this to you so that you can see like exactly how big it is.
Okay, and you keep taking a look at it, but we're asking for $500, and what we plan to do with this $500 is $400 of it going to prototyping, $20 to packaging, and $80 for other materials. We will go into more depth with this on the next slide. And what we want to do with the prototypes is create them and send them out to testers. We'll test them ourselves, and then send them out to testers. And what we want to ask from the testers, the feedback we want, is to ask them what the best and worst features were in their opinion, if our product had an impact on their mornings and what the impacts are, as well as if it's worth the price of our $69.99 and any other suggestions that they may have.
So here's the breakdown of why we're asking $500, and we're planning on building about 5 prototypes to really see what features work best and what don't. And we also have about $75 for like unexpected material changes, because we don't know for sure if we're going to use all these materials for every single prototype. And we have $20 for some packaging when we're giving it out to our testers. We want to give it in like a nice box. And some other materials to build this would be a multimeter, soldering iron, and a fire extinguisher, just in case the worst happens. And it's not up there, but in the prototypes we also have $10 allotted for the domain name, because we just wanted to put ourselves out there as a. And here's our financial model. Our only source of revenue for now is selling the product on an online platform and making money. Our selling price is $69.99, and our COGS for now are $49.95 per product, and we have $0 in labor charges because we're building this on our own, and $20 for packaging, about 5 of them. Our profit margin is about 30%, and which equates to $20. The cost of each product would go down if we mass produce it, and the labor charges would go up if we're hiring more people to do it. So here's a timeline that we're planning on following. If we do get the money, we're going to buy the materials and start building the prototypes for a month, and then test it on ourselves before we give it out, because we don't want the fire to start in someone else's house. And we're testing it with others to see what their feedback are, what they like and dislike about the product, and by May, creating the final pitch and final MVP for us to present.
So our product is aimed at helping everyone be the best version of themselves, as well as showcasing the talents of our community by bringing everyone together and coming up with a solution to solve the problem of waking up in the morning, particularly when it's dark and cold outside.
Man, if the alarm clock existed before, I might have not been late.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I do have questions. I'm trying to figure out where I'm starting here, but not because there are that many. No, I love it. Just in feedback presentation, great job. And I think some of the other groups, and not that, but just I think I like the creativity, something, especially right after lunch, trying to get this off the world. For those of us in food coma, I don't know who ate all those. One of those guys back there ate a whole bunch of tacos. But it was good and creative. I do have questions more on just, I know you're already at a price point and all that, but do you really know how much it's going to take to really manufacture and what you're trying to make works? I'm less worried about that price point of, hey, we're going to charge this much and this is how much we're going to make. I mean, that's just my own feedback, and I'm sure you guys went through the whole process, but how do you know that price point is that, and does it you're really able to make what you're trying to make at that price point?
So we have like a list of materials that we plan on using for now, and in the breakdown, that's just how much we would need to make 5 prototypes. So we divided it so that when we take it for each product and added it all up, it came out to be about $49.95. Of course, we don't know if that would be how much it would take us to make it if this was an actual company. But for now, that's just adding up all the materials.
So just an estimate.
The price of the materials are expected to go down if we were to mass produce. It would go down from some materials go down say to a quarter of the price to a tenth of the price. It just depends on the volume of
Yeah, depending on what law you follow, Moore's law or something, every time you double manufacture, your cost should go down at least 25 to 40%. Okay. But going back, what's your heating element?
So the heating element is basically when you run a current through a wire.
Yeah, what are you using though? Is that
A nichrome wire. So these are readily available. You can buy them on Amazon. It's just buying a spool of nichrome wire on Amazon and then just running that through with some current. And then there would be obviously protections to make sure that the user does not interact with this nichrome wire. It's safe. And that's why we're also building 5 prototypes, to make sure that everything is safe. And if there was something terrible to happen, even the worst of the worst would not affect the user. It shuts off that wire.
Is there from the science research, is there an ideal temperature that you want people to wake up to? I'm just wondering if there is.
I mean, there is an ideal temperature, but it varies between different people. For me, it's 50, the room temperature. I just like to sleep with my room at like 67, and like the winter time it's not easier to sleep because it's cold. Well, in the summertime it's like really hot, so it's easier to wake up in the middle of the night or just like in the morning.
So is it, you kind of set it to where you're trying to get this is going to start heating up ahead of time to get the room
yeah,
to a
it's
certain
like
temperature?
gradual, so you can maybe set it like 30 minutes before I wake up, so it's not running the whole night.
Yeah.
It's just gradual.
Yeah, and in the future, we might be able to make it customizable so that they can set to what temperature they like to wake up to. But for now, it would probably just be like one set temperature.
You can make it customizable.
Well, yeah,
Through the
there you
app.
go.
It just really depends, like on the MVP, I would imagine like not making it customizable, but like on a something that's being sold, then yes, customizable, because MVP should be really testing like the minimum viable part of it.
And then what side has the light? Because I know, is it more about the heater or the
It's-
light?
so-
like if you had to pick one of the two, which one would you rather solve for?
Sorry,
If you had to pick one of the two, because you're talking about either the temperature, right, and then also the light, like people waking up to sunlight.
well, both are going to be.
But if you had to pick one, just say if you go through which one would be more important in your guys' mind? I'm just wondering.
According to our surveys, most of the people said light is most important, and then heat, and then sounds.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. So just as you go through that process, wondering if you had to, for some reason, not do all three, or just pick two.
We plan on doing all three, but like for now, the two most like in-demand features were the light and heat. So we're sticking to that for now. That's a great question, Mr. Berman. Thank you.
Yeah. Which side would be the light? That's what I'm wondering.
So that's another thing. So on our list of the materials that we want, one of the materials is polycarbonate tiles. So it's kind of like these tiles you have up here, where it is a single light source in that light, but it's radiating through the whole thing. So that's why we chose the polycarbonate, because it diffuses light evenly around the product. So that way, like any orientation you have it can still light up the room.
So the whole box will light up?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So a few things that I liked about your presentation. One was you're linking things to the survey results from the customer, really painting a picture of who you're marketing this towards, and the assumptions that you made related to breaking down the TAM and the SAM and going through that level of detail. I also like that you included the sources. You know what I mean? Like you said, this was sourced from this particular website or this. I mean, today with so much people are fact checking and everything else, it's good to have that there in your presentation as reference. I guess one of the questions I had is about the physical product too. It's like, how did you decide on that size?
Okay, so that size, it's good to fit on a nightstand that you have like next to your bed and whatever. And as well, the fans that go on there. There's fans that are available in 120 millimeters, which is 12 centimeters, and the whole thing is built on 18 centimeters on like that one square face there. So there's enough room for housing the fans, housing the heating element, and everything that you need as well.
Okay, so it's to house the guts of it.
Yeah,
Because for
essentially.
me, in general, that looks big, like bigger than I would probably want to have to fit on my nightstand because I have a regular lamp and stuff. So, but these are all things that you're like testing and
Yeah,
and
we
figuring
can also
out.
experiment with size, but like that's why we have 5 to experiment on different things. Because like, what if we make it too small and then it becomes a fire hazard, or what if we make it too big and then it's too big to fit on a nightstand? And also, like you see these like space heaters and whatnot, they're massive, so this is pretty small compared to that. So we're going with a size that fits what we need to put inside of it, but also to be safe within like the first prototypes.
Yeah, is there any places besides somebody's home that you could test this? Are there any labs or, you know what I mean, like other contacts in the community so that you could test it in somewhat of a lab before somebody's house?
We haven't thought of a lab yet. Nate was going to be our first tester.
I was going to test like the basic electronics to make sure like before you even put this in your house, like have it outside testing it, because if something goes in flames in your house, you're getting out of there. But if you have it outside, use that fire extinguisher immediately, your house doesn't burn down. you learn a new thing about what to do with that. So that's why we would have the fire extinguisher and testing it, like me personally, like building it first. And then once testing like it in the worst conditions and see that, okay, this is fire safe, then you can move on to like testing it in a home, because it's been proven that it's not going to blow up while you sleep.
Where did you come up with this idea? Where did it start?
Okay, so I came up with this idea, and I personally came up with this idea because I have a huge problem waking up in the morning. I miss the bus maybe 3 out of the 5 days. My mom, she like hates it about how much like every single day I'd be running outside, like, you know, boom, 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 down the stairs, out the door. And then I'd be like, listen, I have to come back up, like a little walk of shame up to my mom's room and ask her. And like, I just wanted to solve that problem because I know I'm not the only one with that problem. I have friends and we talk about it all the time about like their mornings and how do, like, I ask them, how do you get up? Like, does it work for you? Like, I need a better way for me. And it seems that a lot of us have the same problems as well. So that's what this idea.
Yeah, there's some interesting testing even with like different kinds of users, I'd say. So I have 2 boys, they're both in college now. One was such a heavy sleeper, he sets like 7 different alarms, and he completely would sleep through them. And I'm, you know, down a long hallway, 2 closed doors, and I can hear his alarm, and I'm going in the room to wake him up. You know, so there's people who actually do, they just, you know, so it's interesting even as you like gather information from people to understand a little bit about their, you know, level of sleep and, you know, what things they've tried and everything before and how that works for them.
Yeah, that's really similar to me. I'm one of those people that has like 7 alarms. Each one's like, you know, 2 minutes apart or something. Yeah, my parents, my brother, they're like, Lauren, turn that off. Like, can you turn off your alarm? They'll come and march in my room and like shutting it off, right? Yeah, but I've also noticed myself that in the summertime, when it is warmer, when it is bright in the morning, I do naturally get up, and it's like so strange how it's only in the summer. In the wintertime, like no one can drag me out of bed, but in the summer it's a lot easier. So.
Can you quickly go back to the competitors?
Yeah. Right here.
And like these little pictures are like the competitors and like what some of them look like.
Oh, okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
the
so like this
association.
is like
Okay.
the Phillips one, and then I can't remember which one this was, and then this one is just like your ordinary, like regular alarm
Got it,
clock.
okay.
Yeah.
So no one that you know has tried the heat thing?
No,
the
that's
second
why
heat?
that was like our UVP, because that's, you know, we wanted to make the emphasis on the heat because all of these do have like the gradual light increase. So that's why we were like special, because we have the heat too.
So are you planning the electronics in this to only allow the heat to go to a certain temperature? Like I would think there'd be some sort of range within safety to say that the heat element shuts off. Like there's some kind of a thermostat in it.
Yeah, there's planned to be a built-in like temperature sensor, in that of which like there's multiple safety features that we plan to include with this product. One of being, as you said, thermal. So like if there's too much heat within the system, it automatically shuts off. If the system detects that, oh, this is not the right orientation, like say it fell on its side somehow overnight, you probably don't want something that's heating up like enough. If you have it fallen over its side, it's possible that there's something next to it that's heating it up now, and then that's heating up, and that's now a fire hazard. So that's another thing. So making sure that it's orientated in the correct position. If it's not, then it turns off the heat. One last thing is checking the airflow. If there's too little airflow, then that's also going to increase the heat. And too little airflow, too much heat in this tiny space, that also reduces in fire. So that any of those 3 things happen, the heat is to turn off and protecting the user from any fire.
Great. I mean, I applaud you for going after this level of complexity and engineering and creating the prototypes, yeah.
Yeah. Just one quick question. Maybe we haven't asked a lot outside of this, but any Any comments about how you work together as a team and any challenges you had to overcome?
Well, we actually, like, from the start, when Lauren came up with the idea, obviously we had other ones, we were all, like, able to collectively, like, kind of agree that this was a problem that actually faces the majority of, like, not only high school students, but, like, people that have, you know, jobs and need to get up in the morning. And so we were able to come together collectively, and then from there on out, we kind of just, like, builded off of each other and, like, the different strengths that we had, like, you know, like Nate, we knew right from the start he was like the tech guy, so he was going to work with like all of that stuff, and you know, Kirthana was the finance, and then, you know, Lauren did the marketing, and, you know, I kind of like helped with that, and so we just, like, you know, worked well together collectively, and then when it came down to the, you know, last seconds, it just worked out.
We just recognized each other's strengths, and then we all like had the same goal to all work towards one direction.
Thanks. How's that?
Thank you for the
Good
question.
job.